Hey, Dave, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the podcast,
Can
Kevin.
you believe that we've done this? This is the third week already?
We're professionals. We're
Yeah.
3 weeks in, a year and 3 weeks.
Hey,
So
thanks everybody for watching. If you're enjoying this, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Isn't that what you're supposed to say?
can you push some hearts?
Yeah,
the hearts.
send some heart. And don't forget to check us out on Patreon and also any of our other OnlyFans.
Yeah, Lee, if
Fans only.
your pause game is on point, you can catch me in some lingerie real quick. Oh, there goes.
Yeah.
Try again.
So, all right. Well, man, we
Junior, that was a joke. You can calm down now.
Junior.
I don't have any lingerie pictures, and I'm not sending you any again.
Man, we exciting week 2.
Yeah.
For those people who read the power rankings, which we'll get into in a second, we had our first walk off of the season. I mean, how about that?
Yeah.
Rennie gets the sack win.
Yeah, I wasn't actually. I mean, I didn't have it up, so I didn't see that all those points happening in real time. So it wasn't until somebody posted it, and I went back and like, oh.
Yeah.
Because I'd already made the point that those -6 points were going to come back to.
Oh yeah.
I mean, even a 0, even if he didn't start a defense.
Well, let's not get too ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
Let's we'll jump in and talk about some awards. So we'll begin with the good. So
Okay.
go ahead and tell me your Miller Time Team of the Week.
Well, I'm going with Junior.
You going with
one because, or 2 reasons.
Okay.
You might be okay with one and you'll hate the second one. First is that he scored a bunch of points, he won, and he skyrocketed himself all the way to first place. And the second reason is that he knocked you down a little bit and shut your mouth for a week after you were riding high and thinking that you were going to take on the fantasy world last week.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 reasons. So Junior, good job. Yeah, I mean, I outscored you in points, but your win, got you to first place, and it shut this guy up right here. So that's 2 birds.
Do you think this is a different podcast if I score 130 and Junior gets the L?
Yes, I think you would be insufferable.
The tone would be much different.
Yeah.
So, man, congratulations.
And I'm trying to temper my, I didn't get too upset last week, 2 weeks ago, whatever, and I didn't get too hyped up this week with my performance. I'm trying to be like, all right, bad, good.
Yeah.
So we'll see how week 3 goes before I start going crazy.
Junior earned it.
Yeah.
You got to give yourself an honorable mention. You got to be happy with your bounce back.
Yeah. No, I mean, everybody did good but my kicker. So
especially playing Brian. We'll get into all that stuff in just a second, but just to call it out, like great week 1, week 2 comeback for Dave. But if you don't win Miller Time Team of the Week, you get high points. So there's your prize.
I didn't feel like my win was as significant. It didn't. It jumped me up a couple spots, but first place Junior, now he's got to keep it.
Yeah, for sure. So that leads us to our Hillbilly of the Week.
Okay, I'm excited to hear this one.
Man, and there was a lot of people who were eligible, and I'm going to give it to Danny, and it's because of what we talked about off air. We weren't talking about Hillbilly or anything like that, but man, a -6 from your defense is just left it blank and you win.
Yeah. And
so Danny starts 0-2. I mean, he scored 94 points. So
that he had it won. I didn't think Rennie had enough to come back. I mean, he was just trickling closer, but it's like, no, he's not going to get it. They're going to score a touchdown at that end of the game, and knock the, but
there's so many of the, at least 2 of these games that happened this week where Danny lets a win get away. 1-1 start would have been way better than that 0-2 start that he
Oh, yeah.
is. You know what I mean? And then, if I'm just looking at it like Rademacher just lets one slip away too, and
Oh, yeah.
you just gotta to start 2-0 and to take down Adam, that would have been huge. But so I'm giving it to Danny because I feel like that, obviously, I just don't know why you roll a dice with Miami over Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, but it was that probably because the week 1 was really good, but you got to look at who they're playing.
Yeah.
Like anybody that starts a defense against Kansas City, you have to question their sanity. I would almost, maybe I don't know if Baltimore quite hits that, but maybe they do now.
Yeah. Yeah. So and hindsight's 2020, but
Yeah.
but taking a -6 is definitely the funny thing is Miami gets the win, right? Like all that, and Miami gets the W. So
Yeah, but Danny doesn't. So Danny's
but
the hillbilly. As far as hillbillies go, he is a good one.
He is a good one.
I mean,
yeah.
Good job, Danny.
Yep. Good job, Danny. So we'll just run through these really quick. You mentioned it. Junior takes me down 130 to 100.
But look how close these games were.
Yeah.
Within a touchdown, like everything except for, Maya and Brian. And that was, he scores 125 and you should win, or at least not get beat by 20. Yours ended way, it was close. It was closer than that most of the weekend.
Going into Monday Night Football, if Jefferson puts up a 20 spot and you think that, that Allen just is, the way that the first quarter was going, it was like, but then he just.
But the other side of that is he got 130 because Allen stopped playing in the third quarter.
Yeah.
It was ugly. I think he posted something about he would have caught me in high points, or he could have. And then he got benched. But yeah, he would have. 15 more points for him in a quarter.
Yeah.
If they would have been competitive, yeah. So game script is big. But yeah, look at the rest of these. It was other than Ed and Brennan was a blowout, but everything else was a touchdown.
Yeah.
Or less.
Yeah, and it's you gotta look at this and wonder, we're making fun of Lee a little bit, and I've been teasing Lee coming into the matchup this week, and he's yet to respond. So we'll see if he has anything. But man, I don't, Brennan's got to be feeling pretty bad about his team too. Like there's plenty of guys here and that are in that 0-2 boat that. Between.
We'll probably get this.
Danny.
We'll get
Brennan.
to this in the power rankings or whatever, but I feel like Brennan has to be, down on his record, but maybe not so much down on his team. I feel like his team has more potential than maybe a few others that are struggling, even though he's got 67.
Yeah. So we mentioned Rademacher had a prime opportunity to take down Adam. Adam gets. A couple teams got wins in the 90s this week, which is different than last week. We had
last week all winners were in the hundreds.
Yeah. So and then we had a couple guys, myself and Brian, take pretty hard losses when you score 100 and then you can't get the win, especially when you got teams winning that are scoring 90. But that's the way it goes sometimes. But as you like to call out, we have a perfect bell curve for our standings right now.
Beautiful.
So anything surprise you about the standings after just 2 weeks?
Let me look at them. Not, 2 weeks is just too much there's not much sample, but no, not really. I thought Brennan, I didn't see Brennan 0-2 with Taylor and like his team. I felt like picking first, you get 3 guys, you get number 1 and then come back around, you get, 2 in a row. You you got 3 of the top, however many that, players that is, you got that's a pretty good core and they just haven't started hitting yet. But I think, that's probably the biggest surprise I have is Brennan being at 10-0-2.
Yeah. My biggest surprise is probably Ed being 2-0. But
Considering how many guffaws we got at the draft, like, question marks and, oh, okay, well, all right, take who you want. You be you, Ed. And here he is, 2-0. He knows what he's doing, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and then the other funny thing was, like, we were talking all last season, it seemed like that Brian was the king of bad beats, and then he goes out and he scores the most points, gets high points week 1, and we're like, oh, different season for Brian. And then he scores 125 and gets a bad beat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's man, you hate. That's just an interesting kind of thing. But
he would have beat 10 other people.
Yeah, and it keeps him. Scoring that many points is going to keep him high in the standings.
Oh yeah.
So that's even though it's a loss, it doesn't hurt him nearly as bad as some of these other guys. Like Travis ekes out a win, but he finds himself, way down there. So,
yeah.
But so we introduced last week. We introduced something new. We started talking about power rankings, and so. Thought we might just run these down. Okay. Everybody, we haven't posted this. By the time we post a video, we'll show it. We posted the power rankings and a little write-up that I did. Yeah. But we didn't post like how we each voted. But so Junior is at the top of our power rankings, vaulting up 5 spots from last week, and he's taken over number 1 place in the power rankings, along with the number 1 place in the standings. So, and he definitely looks like he's for real. I will say, though, the only caveat that I have is that when you get a 27-point score from your defense, that's probably more fluke than it is like sustainable. So, with Josh Allen, he could score 130 every week. Okay, just because Allen's probably going to be anywhere between 30 and 40 any given week. I don't know if his defense is going to give him 27
obviously that put him 28 points above 100.
Yeah. So we'll see where Junior kind of shakes out. I think he will have more 100-point weeks than not, just because he gets 40 of them from one player.
So we differed on 1-2, and I had Junior mainly because he has more total points, and I it's the whole Allen and anybody else.
Yeah.
At 2-0.
I had Adam. I had Adam ranked first, right, for some of the reasons I just said about Junior got some of his points off of a huge defensive score, but they still count. I voted more for Adam's track record and maybe a little bit for Junior's track record as well. So
I probably weighed, just looking at just this season, both of Junior's wins have been convincing, and week 1 Adams was, but week 2 he squeaked a win by. So
he did.
I keep him at 2 because Adam, until he loses, I'm not dropping him down.
No, he finds a way to win, right?
Yeah, until he loses, I'm not even gonna think about moving him anything lower, and he'll only rise. So
yeah. And then Brian comes in at 3rd, and he's our 3rd place in the power rankings with a 1-1 record. So that just shows the power of his like maybe his fear factor, as far as like other teams don't want to play him, right? Like he's got a loaded team. You voted him 3rd because
he plays anybody but me or Junior, and he would be at 1. Because he's the only one that's had 2 really high scores in a row.
Yeah. So
and he has the most total points right now.
Yep.
But that loss does mean, a loss is a loss, and but I don't count that too much against him, and that's why he's at 3. But
yeah. And then Ed comes in at 4. You and I differed on that. I had Ed 3, Brian 4, just maybe the benefit of the win. But I would say that both of us would say, shocked to see Ed here.
Yeah, and that's probably, Brian's team just seems more orthodox and not unorthodox. Yeah. Ed's getting wins and getting them in, he's getting points from defense, and he's getting points from quarterback, which, good, like high points. But that's why I had him 1 below, but I'm not counting him out. I get to face him this week, which sucks.
Yeah.
I wish I was facing somebody way down that can't score, that scored what I did week 1.
Like Brennan? No, wait,
Like,
we'll get to him.
Yeah, we're far from the bottom
Yeah.
of the list.
So we agreed on the next three. That is Dave, Kevin, Josh. So kind of stuck right there in that middle. That's that kind of middle tier.
Yeah.
1-1 teams. They've had some good, good results, and maybe not so good. So I think that, like I mentioned in the power rankings, for me personally, like this might be a roller coaster season. Last year, all bad, right? It was like,
Yeah.
I mean, it couldn't get a win. This year, scoring in the hundreds both weeks, get a win week one, pretty easily against Travis. This week, I just happened to face, second highest scoring team, and junior, and so
And
like you
I
said, a
only
lot of
put
question
myself
marks.
at 5 above you guys because this is the week I got the win and you guys both got losses. So the momentum, and then both of you guys have more injury problems right this second than I do.
Yeah, absolutely. And and again, like we said, like wouldn't have taken much for it. Wasn't like Josh got
Yeah.
plugging in somebody, or just somebody falls forward for a touchdown, and Josh gets a win, and then he's probably sitting somewhere between 3, 4, and 5.
He
And
definitely would have been above you.
Yeah.
in my ranking.
Yeah. And
I
he would
might
be
have put him above me. I don't know. Who knows?
he'd be 2-0, right? And so
Yeah.
that
So
would
I
be
probably would put him above me.
so. But then we got Rennie. We just differed on one. I had him at 8th. You had him at 9th, and then Travis, vice versa. I had him at 9. You had him at 8. So, what do you see? Any differences you see between those two teams? Because they're really similar.
Well,
Very
I feel like Travis gets 8 I had him at 8 because I feel like he's moving up and his players are getting better, like between last week and this week, and some people that haven't done well, I think will.
Yeah.
Whereas, and I feel the same way about Brennan too, but he's getting himself in such a hole with not scoring points.
Yeah.
But
and Rennie eked out a win, and if not for that, it's a whole different story,
yeah,
right?
because he's got some age issues and some player development issues going on that are tough. But yeah.
And then we got Danny and Lee down there at the bottom.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't dislike Danny's team at all. So, but he's just he finds ways to lose sometimes. So
Yeah.
that's the only.
You think Lee thinks that the YouTube video clips that I'm sending out are funny?
Oh no, he doesn't think anything about you is funny.
No. See, I think I'm funny, but I don't know. I don't know if everybody else feels the same way. Like,
maybe a poll question. Is Kevin funny when he's attacking you with video memes and stuff?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, how about this? I thought it was clever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, Lee's implanted himself at the bottom, and we knew before the season even started, when we were looking at teams, that going with a bunch of rookie wide receivers or running backs could be, potentially could be an issue early on, until they get their, feet wet. And
so then he, like I said in the write up about the power rankings, if you haven't read it, go in and read it. I shared the file on GroupMe, and also shared some screenshots or whatever. My take at trying to emulate Dave and do some writing, but I said that Lee is like, last week he starts the Jets running back, he doesn't do so well, he benches him, and then that kid does okay. He did better than anybody, so that's like, that's not the cycle. You know what I mean? You don't want to be chasing that.
When you force yourself to be in a position to have to think about and then ultimately pulling the trigger and starting Rex Burkhead and Ramondre Stevenson, who's like, they're both kind of they thought they'd be the second backs, and already week 2, you're thinking, do I pull them in? And you put them in, and then you don't get anything from them.
Yeah, and I feel, I still think that Lee could turn things around.
Oh,
I think I said this about Travis and Brennan as well. I think that they have a chance, to like still do some stuff. And it's early, right? We're
yeah.
overreacting. It's
When
2 weeks in.
I put in my write up for the preview for this week, that I don't know that that Dak getting hurt might be a blessing, because I feel like Wentz is on fire, and he
Right.
went and got him and plugged him in, and he's been, Dallas likes to
Yeah.
run a lot. I don't know that Dak would have kept throwing it like Wentz has to, because their defense is so bad.
Right. Yeah, and the only thing is that I kind of saw is that is Lee going to be chasing after that, like that free agent magic? You know what I mean? Week to week, like,
Yeah.
oh, Burkhead does great. Let me go grab him and see if.
But then
plug him
the
in.
risk is you drop one of the. He's already dropped one rookie guy, and week 8 or 9, when one of those rookies might end up coming in and taking over the rest of the season. Who knows? Or they may not. But that's it's who do you drop? That's the thing. You want to have people that you don't, a whole team full of people where it's tough to decide who to drop.
Yeah. Well, and like just like what you're saying, like some of these teams, like I have very little bench depth. You know what I mean? So far, none of these guys that are on my bench have. It's not like I start one of those guys last week and all of a sudden I win.
Oh, and you're not alone. Like up and down, there's a lot of teams just like that, where you look at their bench and I've mentioned it a few times on different people, like no help there, and at least no guarantee. Not that anything's guaranteed, but no likely help. Like plug and play. Like, oh, this guy's hurt. Okay, well, I'll just put this guy in. There's a lot of teams that don't have that right now.
Yeah. So and it's like feast or famine. It feels like some guys are really popping off and scoring huge numbers, and then we've got just like a lot of mediocre. You know what I mean? Like as much as Adam was praising, oh, Juju, he's going to be like the answer in Kansas City. It's like a 1-point game, and before that maybe like a 6. It's like, and he's got so many weapons.
There's too many mouths to feed, and he's not the force feed kind of quarterback. At least he hasn't been.
Yeah. So, all right. Well,
we want to jump in. This would be a good transition into your idea of first round.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Because it leads right into what
we've been talking about the draft a little bit. We were talking about some of these picks and stuff like that. So I asked Dave to go back and just kind of examine, give me an answer for these 2 questions. Who was the best pick of the first round so far? Overreaction.
Oh yeah, super big overreaction.
Yeah, overreaction. 2 weeks in. Who was the best pick of the first round and who was the worst pick of the first round? So what do you got for us?
So I'm gonna go, because we were talking about Lee, and of all people, you'd think that people were struggling, Lee wouldn't be on this list, but I have him for best because he picked Diggs round 10. You weren't 10, you were 9.
I was
8.
I was 8.
So I think he picked 10, Diggs at 10, and Diggs is the only first round player that's number 1 in his position.
Yeah.
Where would he be without Diggs? Like he'd be, not that you can go farther than 12 or 10, 12th place, but I mean, if he didn't have that 30 spot from, Diggs last week, and I mean, he scored, I think he's had good games both weeks. So that's something to build on for Lee.
It would be easy to see. It would not be a stretch for us because Jamar went pick number 2, right? That you could say that Stefan could have went top 4 and still been a great pick.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
Lee gets him at 10, right?
Yeah. So I think, with your first round pick, the goal is always to pick the person that's going to be number 1 at their position. Not that it doesn't generally happen, and this is only week 2.
And to get that at the end of the first round, that's a gem.
Yeah. So I think that, for me, there's a lot of guys up and down round 1 that are doing pretty good, or, halfway decent, or at least not bad. But to be number 1 in your position, so I went with Lee and Diggs.
Okay. What's the worst pick?
So this was tough. It's like there's weight on the farther up somebody's pick, because I was really wrestling between Dalvin Cook and Henry. But I went with Henry because he was number 3 and he's gotten 8 and 8. And that's just, for an elite 3rd-round pick, you want to at least have a 10 spot, one of the weeks, and you want to have a 15 or 18 if possible.
So who remind me who picked him?
So that's Rennie.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of his old running backs. And there'll be better days for Henry. Tennessee's the game script has not called for him to just pound and pound. They've tried and then they've had to throw.
and as a team, they just look horrible.
Yeah. So like the week 1, he got a bunch of yards, and that's how he got his 8. But last week he scored a little touchdown, but he only had like 25 yards. It's like your number 3 running back, number 3 pick in the draft. You don't want week 2 getting 25 rushing yards.
Yeah.
The touchdown was a bonus, but he should be getting 80, 90 plus the touchdown. And you got guys like Chubb that were 2nd round getting 3, touchdowns. So
who is the number 1 running back so far after 2 weeks?
I think it's Chubb.
Chubb.
Yeah, I mean that 3, like this week, he had a decent first week and he had a really good this week. So I think he's, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's number 1. So even though his 3rd touchdown cost him the game.
He did not cost them the game.
Well, I mean,
their defense probably cost them the game.
Yeah, but I don't know. He shouldn't have scored. I was gonna bring that up. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Chubb. I could be wrong, but I think I remember when I was looking to see where Henry was falling, because he's like 33rd or something like that. That's pretty far down for a week for that pick. I should have had this already. But did you have anybody in mind, or were you just asking me for those 2, worst and best?
No, I was just.
I mean, it's probably not a whole lot.
I didn't even look at it. So Chubb has 43 points. He's number 1, and Swift has 38. He's number 2. Okay. Jones and Barkley, and so here's the thing that kind of gets interesting, like, because we're only in 2 weeks. Some of these guys, like, other than Chubb, some of these guys scored all those in just 1 week.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Aaron Jones is sitting on 36, but 30 of those came in.
Yeah, so it's a little skewed. That's why, like I mentioned, the Detroit wide receiver guy, he's like he's high up. It's like he's number 2, I think, because he had one giant week. That St. Brown guy,
Yeah.
But whether that's sustainable or not, and then like, because it's early, somebody like Brian has 3 guys in the top 6.
Yep. But he does have a great team. I mean,
there's a reason you're scoring a lot of points when if you have 3 guys in the top 6, then you're probably starting 2 of those and you're getting those points. They're not on your bench.
So we'll just run through the scenario, or the matchups for this week coming up. Dave's got a write-up on the app if you want to check that out. Make sure you're always reading that. Good stuff, and he outlines what position players did the best in the previous week and who won high points and all that stuff. So I'm sure by now everybody who's not named Ed probably goes in there and checks that stuff out.
Anybody that probably has any inkling of care about it has already found it and knows about it.
Yeah.
And anybody else, they're not going to be convinced on this.
But they're not listening to this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you hate to call a week 3 matchup must win.
Yeah.
But when Brennan's going to face Rennie, for Brennan, man, let me speak from experience.
Yeah.
You do not want to start 0-3 because it leads to 0-4.
It does. It does do that.
Yes. So Rennie.
So I don't know if Brennan wants to see this, and maybe it's still early. People probably haven't finalized their lineups and all that, but I looked and I did screenshots last week around this time, like maybe even a day or so later. Maybe it might have been right before Thursday's game and ESPN's projections, like you see here, they were 4 and 6.
Yeah.
So they only missed 2 games. They missed Josh and they missed Brennan. So everybody else, they had the right person picked, with higher points. Yeah. So Brennan's a point lower right now. So that's not boding well for,
No, but and this honestly could, both quarterbacks have been average. And so this could be a battle of running backs, like Henry and Elliott, or Taylor and Fournette, who kind of goes off.
And that's where I feel like, Taylor's gonna have. I mean, although Indy doesn't look very good,
No.
so that's not good. But those two guys, their stats, I think they're still in the top 15, whereas Elliott and Henry are in the 20s and 30s.
Yeah. Now, Rennie gets a little bit more help from his wide receivers, but we'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
But must win.
Although I don't know if it's Judy and Allen. I mean, they might be a little iffy. So
yeah. I'm going to say must win for Brennan if he wants to make the playoffs. You don't want to start in an 0-3 hole.
Yeah.
And with the amount of points he had, he's got it's bad. So then we have again early in the season, but Adam is vulnerable.
It's a tough draw though.
He is not putting up monster numbers though.
Yeah.
But you know that and Danny's actually favored.
He is favored. Right this second. I mean,
right this second. Adam will do some tinkering, but you got to get a win here, Danny.
Yeah.
Like, same thing. You do not want to start 0-3. It's just a big hole to climb out of.
And I don't know. I mean, Stafford doesn't put up video game numbers like Mahomes does, but he's capable. He's got good receivers. It could happen. And Swift and Kamara are both got red letters next to their names. So,
do you think that Mahomes is just salivating thinking about playing against the Colts defense though?
Yeah, just it could be he may not play all 4 quarters. That's the only
thing. Yeah. Okay. ESPN doesn't think real high of Ed, but that hasn't seemed to matter so far.
Yeah.
So, how do you like playing a 2-0 team?
I don't.
But
other than they're due. They're due for a letdown.
and you're coming off of a high points win.
Yeah. I don't know why they have me at 10 points above. I'm not real sure. Probably because his running backs are projected pretty low. That kills you on the projections, but that don't mean nothing.
Yeah.
I put in the write-up that I don't like Hurts, Kupp, and Bills defense. I don't like seeing those on the opposite side of who I'm going against because that's a lot of potential points.
Yeah. Yeah. The way that Jalen played last week, he can single-handedly destroy a team, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, and like Lamar's not going to have a 79-yard run for a touchdown every game. That's what 6 + 8, 15 points right there. That's pretty crazy. So
yeah,
he didn't even run at all the first week. So who knows what he'll do this week? Even if he gets, I'm just looking for like 25 to 30 if average, and that would be great. I'm as happy as I can be with everybody's healthy, everybody's doing decent. So if I don't win, I can't complain.
Yeah. Battle of the best friends. We've got Travis and Josh.
There you go.
So and this one's neck and neck. And
I would like. I would think kind of. You hate to use them. They both want to get to 2-1.
Yeah. And you got to think that Burrow's going to play better than he did last week.
Yeah. But but you have to think that Cook is going to get a game where he scores a couple, because of all the teams, Cousins isn't going to run it in most of the time. So it'll, he doesn't lose touchdowns to his quarterback like a lot of other people do. So Cook Jones is way higher ranked right now than what Cook is. And so if Cook turns it around and Jones keeps doing it, I don't hate, Travis's teams, they're fine. Goddard's been great. So I think, Josh definitely has his work cut out for him. But if he gets Pittman back, I think he really missed that last week. That would have been definitely some points that would have taken him over the top of maybe winning the game, but.
So so this is a big matchup that we have. We're going to talk about next. We got Brian versus Junior. So
look at Brian, that. The schedule just works out. Week 2, you got the 2 big guys. Top of the.
Well, and if you're Brian, you got to feel like you can't catch a break. Like, he's thinking, why am I not playing Danny or Travis or Brennan or Lee? You know what I mean? Like why does fantasy football hate me?
Yeah.
And, here he is projected to score over 100. He's got Kyler, Chubb.
He's
got
supposed to get beat
Chase,
by a touchdown.
and then he's like, oh wait, I mean, in that football game on Monday night, Josh Allen looked like he was playing a video game.
Yeah.
I mean, he just steps back in the pocket and just whizzes the ball 25 yards down the field and hits guys in stride wide open.
Yeah, and
that felt like it happened over and over again.
I was riding in a truck, so I didn't get to. I was just listening to it on the radio when we could hear it, and I was like, "Why is Diggs open again? Why is Diggs open again? Why are they not? Who's covering Diggs?"
And when you stop them, 4th and 1, we'll just go for it. Yep, 14-yard completion on 4th and 1.
I did hear the crazy stat that the punter finally punted, and he hadn't punted in
and they
5 games or something, dating back to last year.
Yeah.
Like, what an easy job. Punter for the Bills. You never have to punt.
Yeah. Pat McAfee could come out of retirement and punt for the Bills.
I'm like, that's just nuts. Like you're kicking field goals or you're going for it on 4th because you got such faith in your people that you turn it over on downs knowing that your defense is going to get you the ball back. Like it would literally, we were driving and we'd lose reception a little bit. And they had got, the ball, like Buffalo, the one time they punted and then another time they turned it over or something. And then I'm like, how'd they get the ball back? I missed a minute and suddenly they got the ball back.
Did you hear me and Rennie, because both games were on, we're like flipping back and forth and we're just like, everybody's in the group chat and Rennie's like, crap, I changed the channel and Buffalo scored again. Like they didn't have the ball. They didn't even have the ball when I turned it off.
Since I couldn't hear it, I thought maybe they switched the rules and they were playing make it, take it. Like you keep the ball and if you score, you get to go again. Like, what?
So it would not surprise me if Brian got a win. Like if Brian scored 120, 130 and Junior has like a 110 game, but I'm not going to count out Josh Allen. Like it just feels like I said it in the group chat. I said, they seem like ESPN posted like September champions. Like if you could crown somebody champions in September, everybody's like Buffalo's the Super Bowl favorites, right?
And for Junior, like you were talking about defense, like years past, going against the Green Bay and Rodgers, you were like, I don't really want to start the defense, but this is a different Green Bay and it's a different Rodgers. So it last week they scored a bunch of points, but this is I mean, they could do it again. Who knows? But they got each defense against each other. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, there we go. See what happens. So, and then I don't know if you heard or not, but I'm playing against Lee.
Lee.
So, and
you like that draw? Do you like it?
No, it's a trap game.
It is a trap game.
It's a classic trap game. This would be the week that Lee pulls it all together. You already mentioned. I mean,
he starts the correct 2 running backs, and then Diggs goes crazy again. I still like David Carr. I think. I mean, he's got good receivers. I feel like he's gonna have a monster game at some point. I just don't want. He hasn't yet. It'll be against you.
Justin Herbert's been great.
Yeah. Are you a little concerned? Have you been calling the doctor and?
I've been over massaging his ribs.
Because his pain tolerance seems a little lacking, at least on the play where he just dinosaur armed it. And
but did you see the next play?
Yeah, that.
How do you look like you could run for a first down?
Yeah, but you're so hurt that you just have to drop the ball. But then on the next play, you throw a freaking laser.
You throw a 20-yard laser
to some guy that nobody's ever heard of.
Like, how does that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in that game, didn't he have 3 picks in that game?
I don't remember. Maybe
30 points, but still, like, I mean, left points on the board. Like they didn't play. So
you got him and Connor kind of.
Yeah, they're both questionable. And then I don't know if you saw, like, the only backup quarterback I have, Trey Lance, is out
Yeah.
for the season.
I
So
think he broke his body or something.
yeah, yeah. So which there's
There's
quarterbacks
other,
out there to
yeah,
get,
he's,
but
it makes your
I mean,
decision who to drop easy
yeah,
on your bench.
yeah. I mean, if Herbert doesn't play this week, which that I would hate that. I
Yeah.
want Herbert to play. If Herbert plays, I'll start him. Okay, just hear me. But if he doesn't, he's not going to be out multiple weeks. You know what I mean? Like it seems like that if he's iffy to play this week, he's thinking he's going to play this week. I don't see him being out multiple weeks, but
I mean,
we'll see.
quarterback on the free agent pool always scores above 25 every week.
Yeah.
So you just got to pick the right guy.
Yeah.
Heck, Tua scored 50.
So with Carr, who could definitely go off against Tennessee, like, right? Just do what Josh Allen did.
Yeah. Throw it to Devontae, couple to Waller, please. But
yeah, and then and Stephon, like Diggs is going to
he's gonna get the ball.
Yeah. So plenty of chances for Lee to score points. So Lee's due. I think his team's not as bad as his record. I think that if he could get his running backs figured out, and again, when you're plugging in guys like Stevenson or Burkhead, like the scary thing about any of those guys is they could score 0.8 or they could score like 24. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just never know what's going to happen with.
You're going to have to like wrestle with rooting for Flacco to throw a pick six, knowing that it's going to give the defense, the Cincinnati Bengals defense, some points.
Oh, rack them up. I've scored against. I've played against teams that get 27 defensive score before. So bring it on.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing some sacks of Flacco.
Yeah. Now, it did. I hated seeing Jefferson not play well this past week, but I think that was more matchup stuff. I just think that they really had, Cousins' number. Like they just looked bad. I think they bounced back and they played better against Detroit. But seeing Tyreek do Tyreek type things, like that was really nice.
Yeah. That, I mean, you understand one bomb like that, but how did he get a second? Like, it's the same thing.
255 or 60.
You got you had Tyreek. Oh, that's something you talk about, on the sideline before you come out as a defense. Right? But then, he's got that, Waddle on the other side. So I'm sure it's tough on defenses to figure out who to cover.
Yeah. So
you'll get a few more of those, I think.
Yeah. So, well, it has only been 2 weeks. Nothing's lost yet.
No.
But it'll get real interesting. We'll know a lot more after this week. Funny, we were talking real quick before we sign off. We got people posting stuff. Lee, Kevin is he responding me today. So no, what was I? Oh, ESPN, the app. So we were talking about this last week. Their predictions. Adam still.
Oh yeah. I want to go back to that.
6th place. Junior started at 1. So here's the interesting thing. ESPN probably. I mean, if I had to guess, I would say a lot of that's weighted on Josh Allen. But they put Junior first, and he has stayed there. Rennie
there must be some recency bias in this because I jumped up like 7 spots, like 1 week doesn't.
No. It doesn't show you. It remains where you began at the beginning of the season.
Oh, I see.
It doesn't.
But then it puts your projected, like it has my projected jumped up 7 spots.
Yeah, so like you'll see bigger jumps now because we've gotten farther into the season, but it's not like you jumped 7 spots in a week. You could have jumped.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Because I started at 10.
That was on draft day.
Yeah.
So
But
So
didn't,
it liked Rennie's draft. It doesn't like it so much anymore. It liked Brennan's draft. Doesn't like Brennan so much anymore. I've stayed the same at 4.
Yeah.
Adam continues to not be able to improve, even though he's undefeated
Yeah.
and has
No
scored.
love
Yeah, no love for Adam.
for the Red Kingdom.
Yep. It doesn't like Danny anymore. It loves Brian when it didn't love his draft.
Yeah.
Josh has stayed put at 8. Ed's actually Ed is undefeated in second place in points or third.
Close. I mean, he's
Close,
up there.
yeah. But he's dropped from 9th to 10th, so they have no trust in him.
You know what they're doing? They remember that he's
Yeah.
going to have a week where he
Yes.
forgets to set a lineup.
Yeah. You have catapulted. It hated your draft, but now
did.
it's like we were wrong.
Yeah.
That's what it's saying. It's like, oh, my bad. My
Yeah,
bad, Dave.
They're like, oh yeah, that Bateman guy can catch a touchdown pass. You know?
Yeah. And then Flex and Lee are down there just swimming at the bottom. So
Room to grow.
Room to grow. We'll just keep watching this. I can't wait till Junior's number 1 there is red, and it goes all the way down there to like 10. It's going to be several weeks from now because it's going to take a while to drop that far. But
It will.
yeah. So
You see a drop in his futures, or are you hoping for it?
I'm just hoping for it. He's one Josh Allen broken arm away from.
Aren't we all?
Yeah. So, well, Dave.
Yeah.
It's been fun. Anything else to contribute as we get ready to sign off?
I don't think so. I feel like there was a difference in like me coming off a week I had and you coming off a win. Like your demeanor,
Oh,
is
I'm
like,
sad.
You go to here, and I try to stay, bad week, good week. I try to stay, right in the middle, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
Hey, if I lose to Lee this week, it's coming back. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it won't take much for me to. I mean, I'm trying to stay even keeled. I scored 100. You know what I mean? Like, got a loss. Not super happy about it. I was super pumped to start the season with a win. If things start headed downhill, we're gonna double up on these. We're gonna bring the bag back, and we're gonna go more into sketch comedy.
Sky is falling.
Yeah.
Instead of the firmament is beautiful.
White Castle stop on the way home. So it's coming.
All righty. Well, tomorrow night's game, Steelers and Browns. That's a slugfest.
Ties are bad for the Bengals because then like those teams don't get a loss. Is there any way that both those teams can lose?
Yeah, a tie. It's the the decades old battle of Trubisky versus Brissett.
Yeah, it's just what everybody tuned in for. Like
Yeah. So it should be. I don't think it'll. I mean, I'm anticipating low scoring and a lot of running and all that, but who knows?
We'll see. All right, man. Well, that's us signing off. Like, subscribe.
All three of you.
Patreon,
Thanks for listening.
The whole thing.
Watching.
Yep. So we'll see you next week.